Some brands offer you low finance, or cashback, or servicing.
Renault don't do ors. We do ands. The Renault Kadjar with 1.91% APR and €1,000 cashback and 3 years servicing, saving you thousands. Renault, the brand with the ands. Visit your local Renault dealer. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply. Deposit required subject to lending criteria. See Renault.ie.
Previously on Coffee with Kenobi.
Star Wars color-changing spoons in General Mills cereal. Have you seen this?
I have not.
Oh,
Tell me more.
Oh, I will. Well, General Mills, of course, says it was for their Cheerios. Boy, Tom, we need you back, buddy. Let's listen to the news.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hello and welcome to show number 89 of Coffee with Kenobi, your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, and rhetoric. I'm your host, Dan Z, enjoying my coffee in a Rancho Obi-Wan mug, and very much looking forward to Star Wars conversation. We hope to make you think about Star Wars in a whole new way, and maybe laugh a little bit in the process. On today's show, we discuss a specific nuance during the ending of Rogue One that we're going to look at a little more closely. I'll talk with our co-hosts about the newest episodes of Forces of Destiny. CWK newsman Tom Gross will bring us the latest Star Wars news. And in the coffee chat, Tom will stick around and talk with his daughter Kayleigh about DK's new book, Star Wars Coding Projects. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
I want to start off the show by apologizing for the sound quality at the beginning of show number 88. If you are one of our loyal CWK family members who downloaded the show within the first half hour or so of it being released, there was a version released that had a number of edits that had not yet been completed, and I don't know how I missed that, honestly. I feel like we do a pretty good job of that, but sometimes it does slip past, and it definitely did there. Fortunately, I was able to catch it. Actually, I was driving to work, listening to the newest show, and I heard the errors, and I thought, oh no, I got to fix this thing. So as soon as I got to work and I had a moment, I was able to fix it and re-release a clean copy. So if you heard our book study for Chapter 1 of Leia, and it was a little bit choppy, please remove that and re-download it. The new clean file, I think, will be much more effective and impactful for what we're hoping to do with our CWK book study. Last week I teased something new coming from Coffee with Kenobi, and if you check out our Instagram this weekend, we're going to reveal the brand new logo and name of the upcoming Coffee with Kenobi project. I'm very, very excited about that. And I want to thank everybody for asking about my presentation at T21Con last weekend. It was amazing, and talked to a number of educators about how to use popular culture in your classroom, but more importantly, how to be comfortable with being yourself and sharing that. Because when you are okay with being yourself, you give your students permission to do the same thing, and I think there's a lot of power in that. A lot of great feedback. I look forward to many more opportunities to share that message because I think it's really important. Now let's go to our book study. Today we are Leia, Princess of Alderaan, chapters 2 to 8. Much more reading than chapter 1, of course, and a lot of powerful stuff going on. Right off the bat, Leia is going to take a trip to Wabani, and that is a name you should recognize because that is the planet at the beginning of Rogue One where we first meet Jyn Erso as an adult, and she's on the Imperial prison camp, and she is rescued by the rebellion. I don't know if rescued is really the right way to put it because she's more like she's re-kidnapped again. But we're back at Wabani, and we see her meet Captain Antilles. Now, according to the book, they have known each other since she was a child, but this is the first time we've seen them interact in this capacity. And when he first sees her, he looks at her and respects her. He's very, very kind. He's not patronizing, but she gets this impression that he thinks, oh, geez, she's a cute little kid, and she wants to be taken seriously. And what happens very soon after that really drives that point home. We learn yet again about how the Empire takes over planets and basically sucks them dry. And I've read about this a lot, of course. We've seen it in Rebels, different novels. The Ahsoka novel comes to mind, as does the Zara Leonis novels. But this one actually made me angry. The heartless, cruel nature of the Empire and the things that they do for their own profit, their own gain, their own greed, and just really pure evil. This really, really got to me, and I think Claudia Gray really captured that essence. So Leia finds herself wondering, look, if this is going on in Wobani, why don't people just speak the truth? And she remarks it, and this is all on page 19, she remarks even how her father is silent, and that just makes her even more angry. Why aren't people standing up for injustice? So we move on, and she is ready to give some food and supplies to the people there who are just destitute, and they're dirty, they're starving, they just don't have a lot going on, they don't have a lot of joy in their lives. I think that's fair to say, especially with the Empire sitting there holding weapons at them and basically not helping at all. Even the stormtroopers seem a little bogged down, in the Imperial officers, because they don't have a lot of good things going on either. So there's this huge rush, and Leia jumps on top of the table to prevent a riot, and she yells for everybody to stop, and she explains, hey, look, we're here to help you. We have enough food here to take care of you for a while, although it ends up not being as much as she wanted, because there's just so many that have just been treated like this and just don't have anything, really. And she says, but look, let's push forward the sick and the elderly and those that need it first, and we will take care of everyone. And they, instead of rioting and pushing further even more, they respect it. And I feel like at that moment, Captain Antilles looks at her much differently. It's a very, very powerful, important moment, I think, in Leia's evolution. So Antilles looks at her much differently, and Leia learns, hey, I think I need to get some of these people off the planet so they can have a new life right away. We can't wait for more aid, because this is going to be never ending. This is never going to get any better. We've got to get people off the planet. So the Empire's not keen on that at all, but she learns to use semantics to avoid the Imperial protocols, and that's all on page 35. It's really, really cool. And she's also in the Tantive 4, which of course we know so well from A New Hope. Now, when she's leaving the planet, really, really cool what she does. She says, she's talking to this woman who is a seamstress, and all of a sudden she decides, hey, I need a seamstress on my ship. So she hires her as the official seamstress of the Tantive 4, and then the woman says, but my husband is still here, and they find out he's a pilot, and she says, all right, well, we might need another pilot or a mechanic. Takes him. She ends up taking, I think, 100 people, quite a few people, onto the ship, and she does it all by basically finding a way to circumvent the rules that they have. Another way we see the burgeoning leader, who's a politician and a warrior at the same time. She can do either with courage and bravery, and it's really instinct for her. It's, you're seeing the pedigree, you're seeing the Skywalker in her, you're seeing what kind of person Leia is. So when they're leaving, she goes to Alderaan Station, which is the Imperial facility. You can't jump to light speed because there are Imperial restrictions, so they have to stop at Alderaan Station first. And she notices that it's severely damaged and crippled, and she thinks people are fighting back. I don't think she ever really had realized, or at least acknowledged, that the Empire, people don't like the Empire, as we know. And so the rebellion, she doesn't know about the rebellion, but she does notice that people are fighting back, and that's something that really sticks with her. Now, her mother shows up, and she's not crazy about what Leia did, taking people from Wobani, and the reason is because they've been trying to negotiate a resettlement of Wobani for months, and this whole stunt of Leia's messed things up. And that causes her a lot of grief and duress, because she doesn't want to hurt the cause. She wants to help people, so it's confusing. I think we're seeing here that there are ways to look in the world differently, and Leia sees that, and it's sort of hard to find when people are just looking at things in black and white. She thinks there's another way, and she's starting to learn that while that's true, there's still certain things she needs to learn about from her mother and her father. So we jump forward to chapter 5, and we've got, she's got to go on the Panza Peak, and this is part of her trials that we talked about on the last show. She meets a number of other participants. Keir Doman, I think that's how you pronounce it. He and Leia have a bit of a flirting / mutual respect for one another. You've got Chief Pongi. She is the drill sergeant, and she leads them all to the top of this mountain. And she basically says, look, you've got 4 hours to make it back or you're going to get kicked out of the class. They don't want that to happen. So they are definitely struggling to see who's going to take over. And when that happens, Leia, of course, rises to the top. As they're going down, one of the individuals, Halp Allen, I can't read my own writing. I guess that would probably help if I could. He breaks his ankle. So Chancellor Stevis of Coruscant does not appear to be the warmest, fuzziest guy that Leia's ever met, and he wants to leave Halp behind. Leia chooses to stay with him, and she uses a lot of ingenuity and leadership, which I won't spoil here. And she uses the strengths of the other people with her, the other characters with her. This one is named Sam, Ssamm, a serpentine life form, and they end up getting to the bottom of the hill faster than the other group that Stevis led, and shows again Leia's leadership, her ability to recognize strengths in others, and the fact that she's just grace under pressure, but she does it with such panache and passion. She's just, I mean, look, I've made no secret that I love Leia. I've always loved Leia, but she's never been the most well-rounded character to me, at least compared to other characters in the saga. But this book is starting to change that for me, and that's great. That's really great, because I think Leia is a character that deserves and demands this. So then she meets Grand Moff Tarkin for the first time. This is a really, really cool scene that really, really spoke to me, because you see, I don't want to say begrudging respect, because while I suppose there's something to that there, he definitely respects the fact, or at least acknowledges and is aware of the fact that she's somebody to keep an eye on because she will cause trouble. And he basically calls her out for what happened to Wabani, and she's aware of that. It doesn't seem to upset her all that much, but she definitely knows that he's on to something. But it doesn't really stop her, and she doesn't really second-guess it too much. They have a new debate where they're going to put a new academy of this aeronautical engineering design, and they decide on a planet called Ariel, Arreyel, not to be confused with The Little Mermaid. There are a bunch of planets that are evenly matched, but Ariel is the most need, and so Leia is able to persuade everyone that this is where they need to focus their energies. So she's working late, and she discovers some more info on Alderaan Station, which I mentioned a little bit ago. So she realizes whoever attacked this station, they had to arrive disguised as probably some sort of an old cargo convoy, and with a little bit of digging, she comes to the realization that's from the planet Crate, Crait. Now, this planet should sound familiar to you because it is the planet that will be featured in The Last Jedi. It's the one that we see the speeders on, the kind of the gray, dusty planet with the red smoke or atmosphere coming out of the bottom of the planet. So Leia takes Batten with her. This is one of the officers that escorted her to Wabani in the first place. She's already established herself as feisty and loyal. So they have a cool little banter between the two of them. And when they land, they're basically taken down through a tractor beam. And Leia agrees to go with these soldiers that come and hold her at gunpoint. Now, Batten is not wanting her to go by herself, and she's pretty adamant about it. But Leia says, no, I need to do this. And then on page 115, something weird happens. I don't know if weird is the right word, but something interesting happens where she thinks to herself, well, Batten's going to be safe. And even though she agrees that she's going to be safe, there's a part of her that thinks it's possible that she won't be, but nothing's going to stop me from going on my journey. This is weird, a bit of a weird character moment for me because she's shown nothing but compassion and loyalty for life. But in this really, really quick moment, she says, look, whether or not she's going to be safe, I have to go. That is, I don't know that it's troubling. I think that shows that this is where she's 16, right? You're 16, no matter how mature and precocious you are, you're still not an adult. And this is where a little bit of curiosity and this bravado shows up. And it'll be interesting to see where that takes us. Now, where it does take us, and I'm assuming if you're still listening to this particular section of the book study, you know that you've either read this part or you're comfortable with it being spoiled, because something really cool happens at the end of this. She finds out this planet that she's investigated and led to, and these people that have, in essence, kind of kidnapped her, they're led by her father. And this is the wow moment, and you just get the feeling that this is where he's going to bring her into the fold and tell her what the rebellion is, that it exists, and what it's really all about. Now, right before that moment, she realizes on page 116 that there could be violence, and she grabs her blaster, and she acknowledges the fact that I may have to shoot someone. What if I kill someone? Am I ready to deal with that? She doesn't let it weigh her down, because as soon as the door opens, she pulls up the blaster, ready to prepare herself. She is a natural, and every page you just want to see what's going to happen with her. And again, this is I knew Claudia Gray would write a stellar novel. That's a given. But what I didn't know is that it would make me appreciate Leia a little bit more at this stage of her life. We've already seen her through The Force Awakens and Bloodline, and what kind of character she is, and how powerful she is, and what kind of leader she is. But seeing it with her at a young age, it'll be fun to watch A New Hope after seeing this. And this is only through, the first 8 chapters of this novel. So for next week, please read chapters 9 to 15 and let us know what you think about this novel so far. Definitely weigh in with your thoughts, comments, and opinions, and I will be happy to share them on the next show. Joining us today for a cup of coffee is Skywalking Through Neverland's Sarah Woloski. Welcome, Sarah.
Hey, I am excited to be here, and I hear we're talking Forces of Destiny, which is my new favorite obsession, so ready to go.
I am very excited to hear that, and I thought, I know she loves those, so this is perfect. There's 4 new ones to talk about. We will definitely dive into that very soon. Also joining us is a Star Wars fan raised in the prequels, but in love with the original trilogies, and he enjoys chatting about Star Wars literature and being a dad, Jared Cantor.
Hey, Dan, Sarah, my pleasure and privilege to be here tonight.
Well, it's great to have you, and we were chatting before this. This is the very first time you've been on a podcast, correct?
Yes, and I can't really think of a better place to do it.
Well, we appreciate that, and you. So, Sarah, before we jump into our first topic, I want to know how your Disney cruise experience was.
Oh, wow. Well, it was my very first Disney cruise, and it was a Halloween on the High Seas cruise. Wow. That was, I believe, 5 nights out of San Diego. So that's kind of the reason we went on a Disney cruise, was because they were actually going out of San Diego, which is, of course, I'm from Long Beach, California, so not too far a drive for me. And it was amazing. I'm in love with cruises, not just Disney cruises either. Like, it was fun that it was a Disney ship and there was Disney themed things and Halloween themed things, but I just loved being on the water and just being able to wake up really early and walk around the deck and watch the sunrise over the Pacific. It is just it was gorgeous.
It's about as good as it gets, really. I mean, because you've got that beautiful, relaxing feeling that you don't have to worry about picking up after yourself for a couple of days, which is very, very rare.
or washing dishes or planning meals because you're eating every 20 minutes.
It's true. And it's just, of course, it's so clean. And did you see any Star Wars things at all in the ship, in the gift shop or anywhere?
You know what? There was a couple Star Wars, on the seas postcards, but really not much. They did have 3 themed nights though. And so of course we prepared clothes for that. Richard and I are big believers in dressing up for the occasion. So there was dress up night. So I had this awesome red sequin dress, and there was a Halloween night. So Richard was Anakin Skywalker and I was Jedi Tink. And then there was a pirate themed night, which I was actually Tinkerbell with some pirate, things like pirate boots and pirate waist belt. That's the word I'm thinking of. Pirate belt and all of that. So it was really fun to get into the mood. And we had about 15 Skywalkers with us. So it was actually a podcast cruise, and it was really awesome.
It's very awesome. And be sure, if you haven't already done so, to download and listen to that, because these two are always, of course, so fun and engaging. And I'm glad. I knew you guys would have fun. When Richard was on a few weeks ago, we talked about it briefly, and I knew it would just be magical for you two. So I'm so happy.
Well, thank you.
You bet. So now let's shift gears and jump into our opening topic. It's kind of interesting how this popped up. As CWK listeners know, I am a high school English teacher, and I have a new class this year. It is a mythology class. And last week we were talking about archetypes, and we were going through the different categories. And then we watched Rogue One. And we all know what happens in Rogue One, especially at the end. There's a very interesting interaction between Jyn and Cassian, because the Death Star plans have just been sent through successfully, and they know that their doom is impending, but it seems that they have a nice moment of peace. And they exchange some glances in the elevator and hug on the beach. So my students and I got in this big conversation, not really a debate so much as a conversation. One of the categories for archetypes is the Platonic ideal. And by definition, what that means is there is a woman in the story who is beautiful and very much idealizes is sort of a perfect woman, but there is no romantic interest of any way, shape, or form. It's just someone that helps the hero on their journey, or is the hero in the journey. So we started talking about, is Jyn Erso the Platonic ideal, or is there something more between her and Cassian? What do you think, Jared?
I think, like all good Star Wars, they left it open, because you certainly could imagine, at least in the book, a very clear answer where they make it very clear one way or the other that there's more than platonic love going on here, or that they're clearly in the friend zone at the end. I mean, based on that definition of the platonic ideal, I think on the one hand, yes, certainly Felicity Jones, beautiful woman, Jyn, an attractive character, but I think there certainly is much more going on, that she is clearly even up till the very end, a deeply flawed person. So is Cassian, a complicated person, and someone who has, in the real world, clearly would have probably post-traumatic stress disorder, who has gone through some really unbelievably horrible things. And so coming just from a strict definitional point, is this someone who would, forgetting Cassian for a second, would be that platonic ideal? Kind of tough.
It is. And you actually, I mean, of course, you bring up some interesting points. Sarah, what do you think?
Well, so I'm not sure about the definition of platonic ideal. Like, does that relate to the hero in the story, or is that a person who is not the hero in the story?
It's typically a person who's not a hero in the story, but as we know, Rogue One pretty much starts its own set of rules. There are a lot of things that it does similar in most archetypes, but it also takes things and kind of flips them and challenges the status quo, which is, I think, a nice metaphor for what Rogue One does anyway, both as a story and as far as the Star Wars franchise in general. Maybe the best example of the platonic ideal would be Hermione for Harry Potter. There's no romance of any kind there. And they're obviously opposite sex from one another, but there's incredible respect and admiration and love, but it's completely platonic.
But they get close. They get very close.
Yes.
And J.K. Rowling has since regretted the way she ended up doing it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I'm just going to speak to what we see in the movie, because I have not yet read the Rogue One novelization. Mm-hmm. And I honestly believe that like when two people go through a life or death situation, you're going to have a connection, whether that's a romantic connection or not. Maybe that could grow out of it, but immediately I think they're just sharing that connection of being in this life or death situation. So I don't think it's necessarily romantic, that glance.
I completely agree with you. And the reason is I think there's sort of a tendency just in our world to want to pair everybody up for whatever reason. Shipping is obviously a very popular part
I was going to say shipping.
Yes.
Space married.
Exactly.
And they're the only people left at the end. So
yeah.
But I mean, I think that, like you said, in PTSD, Jared definitely has got to be a part of this. But they just went through an incredible amount of trial that is just unfathomable. I mean, seeing her father die and finding out that Cassian was on the cusp of murdering him, and then their argument on the U-Wing when they go back to Yavin, and just all the things they go through, almost dying multiple times, and then he saves her because otherwise she's not going to make it at the end, which is another aspect of the archetype too. And then they have this exchange. Yeah, I think there's an incredible bond. Whether they're attracted to each other, it isn't really stated. And I mean, it stands to reason they're both attractive people, but it's not what it's about. It's about she finally feels fulfillment in her life because of what she thought about her father most of her life. And then she finds out he is an incredible hero, and she did something to further his legacy. And she didn't think she was ever going to be in that position. And I think Cassian finds something in this war worth fighting for that doesn't make him feel dirty, if that makes sense. I mean, he murders someone at the beginning of the film, and he's obviously conflicted throughout most of the film. And I think with Jyn, she helps to calm that inner angst, and help him to find that purpose once again.
It's interesting you mentioned that because I have read the novelizations, both the junior one and the adult one. And it's interesting at these last moments, especially in the adult novelization, where, they're on the beach and they're kind of smiling. And in the novelization, from Cassian's point of view, he describes her smile a couple of things. And then he says that it changes her from a hero out of myth to a woman he might have known and understood. But there was no time. He didn't know her. He doesn't know her. There was no time. A big
beautiful
plug for the novelization here. This was Alexander Freed, I think, did a really great job, because in a moment like that on a TV screen or a movie screen, there's just not enough time, and it wouldn't be appropriate to kind of somehow slide in anything like that. You don't want them talking. You certainly, in a Star Wars film, you're not going to have someone narrating over it.
No, gosh. Even Billy Joel said, leave a tender moment alone. That's exactly right. No, I feel like that seems to be a very, very solid grasp, and that's what my students seem to think as well. There were a few that thought, no, they must be because of the way they were close in the elevator. But I think it's a small elevator, and I think I just think they went through something really, really incredible that, what can you do? But they experience it together, and they have a strong bond. What would have happened had they survived, I have no idea, but that's something we will never know. But again, this is why Star Wars is so much fun, because the ambiguity inspires exciting conversations like this. So,
and it would
go ahead.
I was going to say, it certainly, you could speculate what would have happened with all of these characters, and it's kind of unfortunate that they did all meet their end here, because we can only go back in time with all of them now.
Right. I love it, though. I love the Shakespearean aspect of that, the fact that this is their story. It's over, and we move on to the next phase, which, of course, is Luke. And speaking of moving on to the next phase, up next, we're going to discuss the newest episodes of Forces of Destiny. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Coffee with Kenobi. Oh, pass the cream, would you?
Coffee with Kenobi is sponsored by Penguin Random House Audio. Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From brand new audiobooks such as Phasma and Battlefront 2 Inferno Squad to our blockbuster movie tie-in editions, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/Star Wars for sample clips and to start listening now. Coffee with Kenobi is also sponsored by the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps. If you love Star Wars and love the excitement of chasing your favorite Star Wars collectibles, the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps is for you. Download the free app from iTunes or Google Play and collect your favorite images from the classic 1977 Star Wars cards to the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, The Last Jedi, and much more. Collect and trade with friends new and old through the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps. These are the cards you're looking for. And if you're finding yourself thinking, how can I help Coffee with Kenobi out? I really like this show and I want to do my part. Well, we appreciate that and we appreciate you. And one of the ways you can do that is to be a CWK Patreon contributor. And I want to give a special shout out right now to our CWK Patreon contributors, including Tyler Wiggins, Ben Elkington, Dennis Keithley, Angela Souse, Aaron Harris, Jason Hall, Mediocre Jedi, Connie Shee, Terry Lee, BJ Smith, Nick Deco, Adam Leonard, Jim Capron, Mark Suter, Mike Audette, Eric Struthers, Jared Cantor, and Swara Sala. The Patreon page is something that helps us out in a lot of ways, including producing our show and distributing it through the RSS feed, which is how you send your show to different podcast catchers like iTunes and Google Play, etc. It also helps with the equipment and the upkeep. In fact, I just had to buy a new microphone recently because the last one I had crashed. So thanks to CWK's Patreon contributors, that was a lot easier for me to make that happen. And I thank you all so much for that. If you contribute, because there are different levels you can contribute, and there are different rewards that come with this. For $5 or more a month, you can get a special mention on the show like you just heard, and we will follow you on social media. And you also become a member of the CWK Discord community, which is basically a message board that's exclusive to just our CWK Patreon contributors. For $10 a month or more, you also have the same things I just mentioned. Plus, you can set up your own Discord text channels, and you get more insights and different access to different posts that we have. 35 more a month, 50 a month, and more. The contributions go on and on. But the more you contribute, the more opportunities you have. You can get coffee mugs, CWK t-shirts. You can also, by the way, get a chance to co-host a show with us, depending on how much you contribute. And be sure to check out our webpage and go to the Patreon page to see the incentives and see the opportunities for you, because as I mentioned, you can not only host the show with me, but you could do it one time, twice in 1 month, or you could do the entire month, all 4 shows with me in 1 month and another guest host. And that's really fun. One of the best things about the show is being able to meet and talk with and converse with each of you. And this is one way to guarantee that's going to happen. So be sure to check out our links on the webpage or the show notes for more information. We are back, and we are looking, as promised, at the latest episodes of Forces of Destiny. This is a series that has, I think, given Star Wars yet another way to appreciate it. It's wonderful. They're short little segments, of course. And we've got 4 that have come out. They, of course, all came out for the show that was on the Disney Channel, but they've since released each of them individually. We have Newest Recruit, Tracker Trouble, Teach You I Will, and the Starfighter Stunt. So why don't we just kind of go through them and talk about each one briefly and see what happens. And we'll start, of course, with the first one, Newest Recruit, which reintroduces Ketsu Onyo back into the story. And she, of course, was on an episode of Rebels, and she and Sabine have a history, a long-time friendship that turned to, well, it was pretty dangerous. They were trying to kill each other. And then now she ends up being recruited. What did you both think about this episode?
So I thought, well, first of all, I want to talk about this 30-minute special that was released. Yeah. Had any of you had a chance to see it as a 30-minute special?
I have. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah. Have you, Jared?
No, as a cord cutter, I'm at the whim of Disney putting these on YouTube one a day.
Ah, okay.
With no Maz Kanata making her tea.
Right. Okay. Because like this is, yeah, as you said, Jared. So yes, you have these 8 episodes. So 4 that we've seen plus these new 4, and interspersed between that is Maz Kanata basically telling you these stories, and yet you see them. So yeah, she's making tea, it gets cold, and then she heats it up again, and and then she's like, perfect at the end. And what I have to say about the 30-minute special is perfect, because it's a way of stringing together these 8 stories that are different time periods, different characters, all within the Star Wars universe, but it connects them together. And so you get an overall feeling of completion when you finish watching it, rather than, watching each of them like in 2-minute little snacks. Sure. You actually get your full meal of Maz Kanata.
I like that metaphor.
So
that's good.
Yes.
And I think that's the purpose of the books.
Oh, yes.
That are going to be retelling this as well, is that, and I have the first volume with Sabine and Padme and Rey on it. And I haven't read it yet because I have From a Certain Point of View to get through. But I think that does the same thing, if I understand correctly, that you get more of Maz as a narrator or a guide.
Okay, yeah. I do believe you get, as far as I know, because I was at Geek Girl Con this weekend, and we were watching it with some people who had the books. And when they were watching this particular one, what is it, Tracker Trouble?
Yes.
Newest Recruit. I'm sorry, Newest Recruit.
Yes.
When we were watching that, she was like, I've read this. It's in the book. So yeah, I do believe the books do that too. So good, Jared. If you have the book, then you'll get the overall effect as well. So yeah, so I basically recommend, if you can watch that 30-minute special, watch it that way, because they have more of an impact.
Yeah, and the fact that there's someone telling the story is very, very powerful.
Yes.
I mean, it sounds like I'm repeating myself, but it's a very powerful aspect of storytelling that goes all the way back to thousands of years ago when stories were first told, and there was a masterful storyteller who was charismatic and found a way to communicate a message to entertain and to teach you a lesson, and these all fall completely in line with that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They're like Star Wars fables, I suppose.
Yeah, I like that.
So talking about Newest Recruit itself, I thought, let me see, what is the plot here?
While you're looking that up, there's some controversy online about it, because are they stealing food? Is this food that was from the rebellion that they needed to take back? If they were in fact taking food, couldn't they just buy it? What was really going on there?
Well, stealing food is part of Rebels. We see that in season 1. One of the earliest missions with Ezra the mission was so that they could end up buying the food, or were they stealing food to take it to Tarkin Town?
I believe they were doing that so they could take it to Tarkin Town to feed people that were in desperate need. Yes.
Yeah, it was mostly taking supplies to people who needed it desperately. Exactly.
Right. So what about on this one?
I'm not sure, but I'm assuming that, I guess they are trying to steal. Let's see. I'm trying to read this on Wikipedia, but it does not specify.
It seems like they certainly...
It's vague.
Sabine seems to know what's going on. Ketsu seems a little miffed that there's no action until there's action, and that it's just food that... And does she use the word steal?
All this trouble for some food. No.
No, I don't think they say the word steal that I can remember.
Oh, wait. Sabine and Ketsu are on a mission to steal containers carrying food supplies for the rebellion. So at least according to Wikipedia, they are stealing them.
Right. And so the question is, why do they need to steal it? But for me, when I see Sabine doing something, I just assume it's completely 100% for the right reasons, because we've seen her, we know her, we know what she does, what motivates her. And so I just assume it's completely wrapped in good intentions. They're rebels, and as much as Sabine's been through, she's not going to take food from someone who needs it. So I feel like it's got to have good intentions.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess this is kind of Ketsu's opening mission, like, oh, is she good enough to join the rebels or something like that?
Right.
Like her test, I suppose.
And then they literally show it when she changes her armor to the which I thought was a really nice touch.
That probably was one of the most powerful. I have my issues with the episode, but I think it's an important episode in terms of the callbacks, the reiteration of the themes of Rebels, stealing, from the rich, giving to the poor. And then I think also probably previewing the Mandalore focus and Ketsu Ono in season 4. Out of the 4 episodes, this probably is more near my bottom for some of my Forces of Destiny things that they keep doing.
Well, tell us about that. You say you had some issues with this episode. Tell us really quickly what those might be. Because I definitely had some on one of these episodes too. So,
in this one, and especially since I, before chatting with you guys tonight, I did a binge of all of the episodes, which thankfully it doesn't take you very long. One of the biggest things that stood out to me is kind of like old video games. Blasters don't leave any damage anywhere. And even when it's the Ghost firing ship weapons, they just are leaving no marks and bouncing off containers. And I realize it's a kids show, but adults watch it. And I think even the age range of kids who watch it, it just kind of seems a bit bizarre. And the random child in a locked container of food.
Yeah, that's
where are the parents? And Harris seems very happy at the end that the entire mission was blown apart and all they have is some random miner that now they need to find his or her parents.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to mind that it's been taken from the planet. And it also speaks perfect English, which I didn't expect.
Adorably perfect English.
Yes, exactly.
That's funny. Let me see. Well, I did love the part where Hera comes. It's like, oh, Hera's coming. So it's just good to see her again.
Of the music too from Rebels when she shows up.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Well, let's move on to Tracker Trouble. This would probably be my least favorite of all of them, and the only reason for that is I feel like because it obviously takes place during The Force Awakens. And what happens is kind of a big deal. The ship was going to explode. The Falcon was going to explode. And that's pretty intense. And I feel like a story of that magnitude should have been in the film. And which brings me back to my thing I always say about all these stories. Tell stories that need to be told or that add to the mythology. And I'm not 100% sure that this one does. Now, that being said, I was very happy to see the 4 of them together. I thought that was pretty great. But other than that, they kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Well, I have to say that I disagree with you on several levels.
I'm very glad. I think discourse is so important. So please tell me why.
Yeah. Okay. So I think this is probably my favorite one. One, because it contains Han Solo, and he is my favorite character, even old Han. And I actually got a little teary seeing him again because, he's dead. And so to be able to see him in a new story and just a new story, I got a little teary because I'm just weird that way. And then watching it, they find a tracker on the ship and there's not only Han and Rey on here, but you have Chewie and you have, I almost said Lando, you have Finn and you have BB-8. So you have all 5 of these guys. And the fact that, Han says move ball again, which is cute.
Like that, yeah.
And because they all have to work together to get rid of this tracker that ends up, once Finn takes it out, it starts a chain reaction it's going to explode. And so they all have to work together to get it off the ship. And it just kind of actually lends a little more credence to the next scene we see in The Force Awakens, which is when Han offers Rey a position as second mate on the ship.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think it actually extends their story and lends a bit more to their emotional bond in The Force Awakens.
Well, I appreciate your insights on that. That definitely does kind of put a balm on my memories of that, because I mean, Han is, I mean, I love Han. I love Harrison Ford. He's one of my all-time favorite people I've never met. And so that's cool.
He's tall.
Oh, you have met him, haven't you?
I have. Yes. It's amazing. Okay, yes.
You're killing me.
But he's very tall.
Yeah.
I know.
What about you, Jared? What about this episode?
Well, I guess I have to gang up on you with Sarah.
Please do.
I guess the three things I really enjoyed about this episode was seeing the Falcon flying in kind of this 1980s cartoon style. I just thought was fantastic. And also Finn telling Han to punch it. I laughed out loud when he said that. But I think the biggest takeaway from this was it does flesh out a little bit more why Han would offer her a job. Because at this point, their only experience that we had seen was fighting off Rathtars, figuring out what Moof Milker would do whatever they did to the Falcon.
Hey,
and I think
this is a family show.
The compressor. And so I actually think it's one of those, if you put a chart together of all the episodes, is this one that does backstory? Is this one that's kind of just a wink and a nod? Does this one expand on a character, theme, or trait? This one, I think it's one of those fill in somewhat necessary backstory, because there's all the speculation, why would Han offer her the job, the looks he was giving her. I think putting this out there, it's like, oh, well, because he realized that this
she's important
woman from a scavenger planet who he has no reason to believe has really any technological experience really knows her stuff. And clearly, Finn's kind of know nothing is reiterated here.
Yeah.
No, not this. No, that one.
Right.
That's true. Well, and
also that Rey has a cool head under pressure, which is absolutely essential in this galaxy far, far away.
Absolutely. But see, all of the things that you're both mentioning, I feel like we already knew those things. I still don't feel like this is a story that was begging to be told. But that being said, I mean, it was still entertaining. I will never complain about more Han Solo. That's for sure. So let's move on to Teach You I Will. What were your impressions of that one, Jared?
Oh boy. This one I think was probably the fan favorite. I think it probably was mine as well. A lot of interesting stuff going on here. Maybe starting from the end is Yoda saying that you should learn from your master, but that you should take what you learn and make it your own, or that you must make it your own. Reading Yoda doesn't necessarily work because you've got words in the wrong spot. Sure. But I just thought that was very interesting. And obviously this is pre-Order 66, pre-Dagobah enlightened, Yoda 2.0. This is original Yoda, but that
or yogurt
quote just or use the Schwartz.
Yep.
That just, I don't know. That seems like a very powerful message,
Oh, it's beautiful.
Stepping back and just looking at who the audience is, young kids, that you should, learn from your parents, learn from your teachers and your adults, but that you still need to make it your own. You need to be true to yourself. Really out of just the fact that this is Star Wars and really, some great fighting sequences, and we get to see the room where we also saw it in Rebels with Kanan when he was fighting the Inquisitor during that Force vision.
True.
Oh, cool. I didn't put that together. I'll have to watch it again.
Yeah, that's awesome. Why I like this one so much is it's really an episode about teaching and learning, which is pretty close to my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that, first of all, when I was going to be a teacher, I was out shopping on a Saturday, and I ran into my former teacher. His name was Mr. Keel, and he was biggest influence on me as far as wanting to be a teacher. And so I got to tell him, hey, I'm going to be a teacher, and you're a big reason for that. And he said, Daniel, let me tell you something. I'm flattered, and while you may find inspiration from me and other teachers, don't try to mimic anybody else, just be yourself. And basically that's what that's what Yoda tells Ahsoka. This really resonated with me because there's just so much power in this and wisdom, and you're free to be yourself. That's okay. And you still learn from experts, but you can take that and make it your own, which she absolutely does. All the things that she has to kind of learn, hey, it's okay to have two lightsabers. And this is kind of where we first see her learning to use both of them at the same time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So great stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, I totally agree with you both that the message in this one is particularly fabulous. And the thing that struck me most about this episode was the score by Ryan Shore, the music. So he actually calls out the music to the end of the season finale of Star Wars Rebels Season 2, where Ahsoka and Vader have their battle in the temple. And then like that whole end of that episode is like 2 minutes of just music. And they actually use that theme again in this episode as she's learning how to, use her two lightsabers. So that was particularly emotional there.
That is cool. I didn't know that. I'm learning lots tonight.
And people have done screenshots where there are lightsaber clash sequences in this short that reappear in that Twilight of the Apprentice.
Yes, the one where she's behind her back. Absolutely.
Yes, when Yoda's on her back, that previews Vader attacking from behind, and then there's also one where she's defending in this one against Anakin with her two, and then we see a very similar, more menacing pose with her and Vader.
Awesome. Wow. Whoa, so excited.
That's cool.
So you definitely, if people haven't seen it, if you just go on Twitter and search Forces of Destiny, you might have Twilight of
the Apprentice. Yeah. Twilight of the Apprentice is the episode name. Yeah, exciting.
That is very cool. There's so many great things. This is even richer than I first realized. Let's move on to the last one, the Starfighter stunt. This is an episode where Ahsoka and Padme team up, and that's always something that I think we as fans appreciate because it didn't happen a ton during the Clone Wars as far as what we saw, but we've seen it multiple times now in Forces of Destiny.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this is the second episode that they are paired up?
Yes.
I believe?
Yes.
Yeah, and the first episode was The Imposter Inside, and that was an incredible episode. I think that was my favorite of the previous 8. So this one is fun because we get to see Padme piloting, which we don't. Do we ever get to see her pilot? I guess.
I don't think so.
Maybe just like in a ship, but not in a dogfight, I believe. So that was exciting to see that. And let's see, but this one is basically Ahsoka is teaching Padme how to pilot, but then they come under attack by a droid starfighter. So the lesson here is that the droid, is programmed to do certain things when a pilot does certain things. So you have to be unpredictable to be able to beat them. So although I'm not sure, what lesson would you guys take away from that?
Well, this is one that I was with it until the last minute, and then I felt like it got the dialogue felt a little cheesy. To me. It's almost like they were awkward talking to each other suddenly, and I know that they were trying to portray Ahsoka just been stunned, basically. I guess that was what the weapon was that hit her, that green ray that zapped her. No, I think it's more about, hey, it's okay to, similar to Teach You I Will, but, be unexpected. Don't follow the status quo, kind of march to the beat of your own drummer, because people who are just programmed, whether they're, organic or made of metal, if they don't improvise or kind of try to come up with something on their own, they're not going to be as successful. So I like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was definitely a harder episode to pull out a bigger theme. I mean, I think that probably is the theme that they were going for.
I think so. It's because they were almost didactic with it. They were pretty straightforward. I love the chemistry between these two, and I love that ship that Padme was piloting. The all silver one. And Jared, you and I were talking before. This isn't the first time we've seen something like this. Is that correct?
That's correct. When I was, I agree. The chrome-looking Naboo starfighter was beautiful. When I was watching this, I kept thinking, why am I having this recollection? We've seen something like this, and not just baby Anakin flying this. And it occurred to me that issue 3 of Shattered Empire, Leia and Shara Bey go to Naboo, and that's when the Emperor's destroy everything plan has been put into effect, and the weather's being changed, and Leia and Shara Bey and the Queen go into the hangar bay and fly these Naboo starfighters up to try to knock out these weather satellites. And we have kind of a similar thing going on. We see Leia piloting a starfighter. So we have, Padme's daughter kind of in a very similar role. And it just, if people haven't read Shattered Empire, they might want to go look at that, because it really kind of struck me that whether that was a conscious callback, you'd have to think that they know about that.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. Well, I have another question about this. The asteroid stream that they're using to destroy, like, is that what that is? Like the path of the asteroid?
Are you talking about the blue stuff that Padme?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought, are they going to the surface? Is this like the atmosphere of the planet? Is this water? What's going on here? I had no idea what that was.
Well, because the opening establishing shot is an asteroid going across the screen with that blue streak. So that, I think that's what they're using. They're just flying around this asteroid thing. But you wouldn't think that an asteroid's wake would cause issues with a ship.
And there's no precedence for that. And we've seen asteroids plenty of times. We've never seen anything like this.
Right. So I was just wondering if you guys had any insight into that.
Unless it was a comet.
Oh, maybe it is a comet.
Then it's certainly, they're close enough to it to where it might not look like it's moving very fast. But if it was a comet, of course, actual science people are probably going to start groaning at this point. But if it was a comet and if it was near enough to the sun where it would be picking up speed and it would be burning off
the ice shards, right?
Yeah, all that stuff. I still don't know why that would necessarily these are space. Well, they're in fighters, and that's a droid meant to be essentially a droid starfighter. It seems like that would not really cause a problem, but there's lots of weird things that happen in Star Wars in space.
Well, I had a hard time believing that this vulture droid wouldn't know, oh, there's something below me. I've seen Top Gun before. You know what I mean? Well, How did it not realize that? I mean, it's may not be able to improvise, but it's also not, it's not dumb.
Well, we do see a lot of dumb separatist droids.
Well, that's true. I guess it's not doing calculus or anything of that nature.
We get to see a smart droid. We see R2.
That's true. Yeah, I'm surprised that the comet, being in that comet, the wake of the comet or meteor or asteroid or cool rock, whatever it is, I'm surprised that didn't have more of an impact, but I don't know. It's kind of great that we even have these to be able to look at and examine and scrutinize them, because there's some great stuff here. The way that this is being delivered to us, I find it wonderful and refreshing, and how cool that we have so much to talk about in these little 2 and 3 minute segments.
I know, and now we have to wait all the way until October 29th. Before we get the next ones. But until then, I can play with my 5 Forces of Destiny adventure figures.
That's right. Do either of you think that we will see more Forces of Destiny next year?
Oh, I hope so. I mean, there's certainly plenty of stories to tell and plenty of, well, you know what? I think we'll see more Forces of Destiny with, say, the 2 sisters who we're going to meet in The Last Jedi.
Good point.
Them. So yeah, I guess the more female characters we have, and who knows, they might add more male characters as well. I don't know. All I know is I love if any of you want to see photos of my Forces of Destiny dolls on cruise ships or at Geek Girl Con or in Seattle or in LA, you can just go to my Instagram at Jedi Tink, because that's like all I've been doing lately. It's taking those pictures.
I love it. Well, let's go ahead and I'm going to take a break and check out Sarah's Instagram. So when we return, we're going to have Tom with us to do the news. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Greetings. This is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects, top-notch narrators, and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From Han Solo to C-3PO to Admiral Akbar, you'll recognize all of your favorite characters. Listen to movie tie-ins like Rogue One and The Force Awakens, to book titles such as Phasma and Battlefront 2 Inferno Squad, to classic audiobooks like William Shakespeare's Star Wars. With Star Wars audiobooks, you'll have plenty of Star Wars listening to keep you entertained. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/Star Wars for sample clips and to start listening now.
The Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app features incredible images from many aspects of the saga, including the original trilogy, the prequels, the Clone Wars, Rebels, The Force Awakens, and Rogue One. It's the quality you have come to expect from Topps. It's also easy to get into and really fun, too. Your favorite Star Wars characters, scenes, and moments are in every pack. To get started, download the app for free from iTunes or Google Play, and then be sure to open the app each day for free credits to spend on card packs from the Cantina. Plus, if you can't get what you're looking for, there's a place to trade with your friends as you complete your Star Wars collection. And if you're an experienced collector, there are exclusive cards, special inserts, and autograph opportunities for you to enjoy. Don't worry about missing the cards and sets you want either, as you can sign up for notifications right on the app. The Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps can be downloaded for free from iTunes or Google Play. Be sure to download the app and start your collection today. The Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps is available now. And remember, these are the cards you're looking for.
We're back, and if you heard show number 88, where I took the news desk briefly, you know how desperately we needed Tom back. So, Tom, it's good to have you back on the show.
Oh, it's great to be back, and I'm feeling so much better. So much better.
Good. What do you have for us tonight?
Well, Disney has struck a deal with National Cinemedia to provide exclusive upcoming film content to the theater pre-show program called Nuvi. This new partnership will premiere in theaters this Friday, October 6th. Nuvi, which is replacing longtime pre-show program First Look, will be a 20-minute program that includes exclusive video along with advertisement commercials. Disney says that it will start with exclusive footage from the upcoming Pixar film Coco, then with the partnership currently signed on through June of 2018, has plans to provide exclusive behind-the-scenes looks at Star Wars The Last Jedi, Black Panther, A Wrinkle in Time, Avengers Infinity War, The Incredibles 2, and the untitled Han Solo movie. With Cinemedia, owned in part by AMC Entertainment, Regal Entertainment Group, and Cinemark National, Nuvi will be shown on over 20,000 screens in 1,700 U.S. theaters. I guess we don't want to be late to the theater anymore because according to The Hollywood Reporter, most of the new content will be aired early in the Nuvi program.
Which means we won't be stuck watching like some weird 10-minute Trident commercial or whatever they've been doing to us. I'm interested in this because I don't really know what to expect. I'm assuming it'll be, you said 20,000 movie theaters, correct?
20,000 screens, 1,700 theaters in the U.S.
Because it's really not a lot. I mean, honestly, I mean, this is probably just sort of a trial thing.
It's like a quarter, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, pretty much. So, what do you all think about this?
So it's which theater chain?
It is Cinemedia is owned by AMC, Regal, and Cinemark National.
Oh, wow. So a lot of the big ones. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's content that that you see before the film. So, well, if it allows any like behind the scenes things, I always like watching those before I get to the movie, before I watch the movie, because I'm one of those people who comes to the movie super early than I need to, even if my seats are assigned. So I like watching all that stuff.
Yeah, it just adds to the cinema experience, I think. I think it's really, really neat that they're doing this.
I mean, my position would be, I guess, on the one hand, I go to maybe 2 movies a year.
Yeah.
And if it's a year where there's Star Wars movies out, those are the only 2 movies. But even if I went to more movies, it seems like it can't possibly be worse than what we've been forced to endure for the last several years. And those are, I go to AMC and Regal. So it would be something new and exciting for the first 5 or 6 viewings. And then,
well, anything that isn't those dreadful Fandango brown bag puppets that they used to have from years ago is a good thing.
Yeah, and I have to say, looking at this, I mean, just the lineup that they gave with the Black Panther, Wrinkle in Time, Avengers, this is going to be a big movie year for me, because I'm like you. I don't go to the theater all that much. Generally, it is for Star Wars or an Avengers, Marvel.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. And but this is going to be a big movie year, and so I think it's cool that we might be able to get some of those behind the scenes early.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. What else is going on?
Another comic convention is upon us with the New York Comic-Con this weekend. LEGO has a Star Wars exclusive set for the convention. From LEGO's Brickheads collection, LEGO presents an exclusive Boba Fett with Han Solo and Carbonite set. According to StarWars.com, all decorated parts are new and exclusive to this model, and Han Solo will feature the largest Brickheads base to date. The piece count for the set stands at 329 pieces, and the set will run for $40. And this will only be available at the LEGO Group's mobile experience during New York's Comic-Con. Some notables from the set, in my opinion, are the helmet details on Boba Fett as well as his rocket pack. Then Han's carbonite encasement has all those little controllers on the side, and Han's eyes and hand details are pretty fun too. And finally, as a collector, I like that the bases of both characters include a Star Wars New York Comic-Con nameplate. They will definitely be display worthy.
Oh, for sure. The challenge is going to be snagging them. I'm still a little bit disappointed that I wasn't able to get the LEGO exclusive from Celebration Orlando, because I'm sure these are going to be extremely popular. Have either of you seen this one?
I'm looking at it right now. That's supposed to be Han Solo and Carbonite. That looks like, if you didn't know, like if he wasn't standing next to Boba Fett, you'd be like, what is this like thing? But
so how do you really feel?
You know what? I save my money for itty bitties and geek fashion.
Yes, if you're looking at it, look at his little hands sticking out.
Oh, let me see. Oh, the little hand. That's funny. That's fun. So you can actually put like a spear in his hands or something, because like it would work. But I do, if I'm saving my money for anything LEGO, it's going to be that ultimate Millennium Falcon crazy set that's like 7,000 pieces or something ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys,
Absolutely. Oh yeah. We talked about that quite a bit. That thing is amazing.
Yeah. But although you need like a separate room to display it.
It's true.
In your house. But yeah, so this is cute. And, exclusive of any convention are kind of, everyone wants them. So
I see.
I'm assuming people will want it. So good luck to them.
Well, Tom, LEGO should hire you, because the way you described it sounds a lot more impressive than the actual image. But that's for people who like the brickheads, right? I don't collect the brickheads, but for people who do, I'm sure that they are thrilled, and more power to them.
They are definitely a unique piece, yeah.
Yeah, they did have like the itty bitties that was a Boba Fett and a Han Solo, and that was, I believe, an exclusive. It was maybe an online exclusive. Yeah, it must be. But I have that sitting right here in my office. I'm holding them because I had to have it. So yeah, exclusive get Exclusives get you.
Han Solo in this thing looks kind of like Phineas or Ferb, either one, really.
Nice.
It's an exclusive. I mean, that's
Right.
about as
Yes.
much as you can say.
Right.
Yeah. Well, this is the first week of October, of course, and for most, that makes us think of pumpkin, fall, and Halloween. But it means something entirely different to this school librarian, Star Wars Reads Day. This is a national event that we have celebrated locally for 4 years. And on the national scene, there will be special events this October 7th at Disney stores, Pottery Barn Kids, Hannah Anderson, and online at Zulily. Check local stores for participation. And there's also a fun activity packet and coloring pages that can be found on StarWars.com, but definitely check with your local bookstore or local libraries for special events, which leads me to this Saturday special event where Coffee with Kenobi will be recording live to discuss Star Wars Reads Day and the importance of literacy.
No
Dan,
way.
you've been yes. Did I tell you? Did I
Is
not?
Corey going to be there? Because otherwise, I really don't want to go.
Oh, man, I know, right? Well, you have been involved all 4 years,
Yes.
and it will be the third year you're bringing Coffee with Kenobi to the show.
That's right. I am very excited. It's always a fun time. We're considering all the things that have been going on with Star Wars recently. We are going to have a lot of fun. There's always a good turnout at the school where we are at. And we're probably going to do a live stream for the broadcast as well. And we're going to have a lot of guests. We're going to have Zeke from Zeke's Comics, which is a local comic book store here in our area. Tom is going to be on, of course, do some news. And then your daughter's going to have something pretty cool that she's going to do as well.
She is. She's going to take the DK Star Wars coding book, and she's going to do some live coding right there and try her best to to explain to you what she's doing. And it's a fun book, and I think that'll be a neat feature on the show for sure.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Have either of you participated in Star Wars Reads Day activities? Sarah, I know you have.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've done face painting the last couple years at one of my local libraries dressed as Princess Leia. So that's been fun. And it's fun to see what kids, girls and boys will ask for in the face painting realm. You know, I've done BB-8s. I've done the Rebels Firebird, which is pink and orange, which the girls love, and all kinds of fun face painting. So yeah, that's always a blast to do that.
That's cool. Now, will you be doing face painting at the Rancho Obi-Wan Gala this year? Because I'll
Oh, nice. Oh, that might be a way to pay for my wine tasting.
Exactly. Yeah, that's an expensive face paint.
Now I should face paint before the wine tasting, though.
That's right. Yeah, otherwise you might look like something I did.
Yes. No, I plan to just enjoy myself at Rancho Obi-Wan, but I'm excited about that. And yeah, I just love, doing artwork anywhere.
That's cool. Jared, what has your experience with Star Wars Reads Day been like?
I have not done anything, and I'm kind of kicking myself, but my excuse, as for many things, is I have a very young child who's only going to be 2 this Halloween. But I think we're getting closer to where this kind of thing would be right up his alley, because he does love books, and I have a growing pile of Star Wars children's books that I keep telling my wife I will eventually let him touch. So I can see some future point where the things converge and we can do a Star Wars Reads Day.
Yeah, Dan, I was just saying that I've been so glad that you have been able to participate in our Star Wars Reads Day event. And I have to say, one of my favorite parts about doing this is we do a sit down and throughout the whole morning where we have student athletes at our school read Star Wars books to the kids. And it is so neat seeing the little kids, just idolizing, and the big kids and the athletes are such role models and reading Star Wars books. And it's just, it is such a fun event. And I'm so grateful and happy that Star Wars has made this a national event, to promote reading and literacy.
Oh, it's great. I'm very much looking forward to being a part of it again and just seeing a look on kids' faces when they walk in and see the 501st or get to practice with their Stormtrooper Nerf guns, or just, on the crafts that you and Maureen have made. It's just a ton of fun.
Yeah, it really is. So looking forward to Saturday.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. As always, Tom, we look forward to Star Wars Reads Day, and we'll have a Coffee with Kenobi episode highlighting just that.
All right. We'll see you then.
Very good. So we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we're going to do something a little bit different on our next segment. Tom is going to stick around and share a review he and his daughter Kayleigh did on DK's new book, Star Wars Coding Projects. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Coffee, tea, or me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's Coffee with Kenobi.
Coffee with Kenobi was sponsored by Penguin Random House Audio. Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Try listening to them on audio. Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. From brand new audiobooks such as Phasma and Battlefront 2 Inferno Squad to our blockbuster movie tie-in editions, you'll have plenty to keep you entertained. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/Star Wars for sample clips and to start listening now. Coffee with Kenobi was also sponsored by the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps. If you love Star Wars and love the excitement of chasing your favorite Star Wars collectibles, the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps is for you. Download the free app from iTunes or Google Play and collect your favorite images from the classic 1977 Star Wars cards to the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and now The Last Jedi. Collect and trade with friends new and old through the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps. These are the cards you're looking for.
Hello, everybody. It's Tom, your Coffee with Kenobi newsman, and today I'm joined with my often mentioned during the news segment daughter, Kayleigh. How you doing, Kayleigh?
I'm doing great.
And how was school today?
Good.
Just good?
No, it was awesome.
It was awesome. Well, I guess we'll have to talk about what was awesome later. We don't get to talk much, so I at least had to ask her about how her day was. But we're here today to talk about a DK book, a new DK book coming out, and DK sent it to Coffee with Kenobi, so Kayleigh and I sat down and went through it. It is the DK Star Wars Coding Projects Using Scratch by John Woodcock and John Hall. And Kayleigh, I just wanted to ask you, tell me a little bit about this book, the Star Wars Coding Projects book.
So it's pretty much a coding book, and it takes you through step by step how to code, and it shows you how to code. And one of my favorite parts about it is the illustrations and how they were designed and how they look like those coding little characters that you're normally looking for.
Yeah, the book is loaded with Star Wars icons of BB-8 and Rey and Finn and C-3PO, Yoda, and you name it, they are in here. So Kayleigh, the book isn't just you mentioned the step-by-step coding activities,
yeah.
But there was more at the very beginning of the book that I wanted to talk a little bit about. Could you let us know or tell us what the beginning of the book had in it?
So in the beginning of the book, it introduces you to coding, and it gives you some keywords or vocab words such as sprites, which are little characters almost. Sometimes they're Star Wars characters, and sometimes they're not, such as balls. And also, another one of the vocab words was script. And a script is the coding blocks that you put together, and the coding, it's
like a stack of blocks,
yeah,
and it's like multiple sentences, or it's the language of using Scratch. That's a really neat part of this. And I guess a question I should have asked before we got too far into this is, Kayleigh, do you have any coding experience?
Yes, I do. I've been in Lego League, and that's with Mindstorm. It's where you build with Legos, and you build robots with Legos, and you program the robots to do different tasks, to get to win the robot thing.
Competition or something, yeah.
Yeah. And then I've also done coding in computers at school. And I've done sites such as Tinker and other sites like that.
Okay. So a question that people might be asking themselves, since you do have a little bit of coding experience, and I have very little, I wish I had more, but people who are interested in buying Star Wars coding projects using Scratch by DK, is this a starter book, or is this something that someone needs to have some experience?
It's a very starter book because it gives you information. You should probably know what coding is, but it's pretty beginner. It gives you vocab words and it tells you how to code and things like that.
As I'm flipping through the beginning of the book, right after the foreword, you have a section on computer coding and what is Scratch, and exploring Scratch and using images in Scratch. And so it does sort of a play-by-play through the first, maybe not even quarter of the book, just so you get some background on what programming is, and especially the language of Scratch and block coding. And they give you the layout of what it looks like. And probably one thing that came across my mind when we sat down to do this was, wait, where do we go to do this on the computer? Do I have to download something, or what is it? At the very back of the book, they tell you how to get Scratch 2.0, and there's an online version and an offline version. And the online version really is great because you just go to the website and you log in and you create a quick account, and you're in and you're starting projects, and that is really cool. So speaking of projects, Kayleigh, let's talk a little bit about the project that you and I did. Tell us, or remind us, how did we go about doing this first project? Because we did it together.
Yeah. So the first project that we did was called Cargo Bay Chase, and it's where you have a cat, which is a sprite, and a ball sprite, and a robot sprite, and you code the cat to follow your mouse to so your mouse, you'll be bringing the cat all over the screen and trying to get the ball, but then the robot is trying to chase the cat. And so you'd program the robot to chase the cat, but then with the ball, you would program the ball to bounce in different angles to go kind of all over the screen. There are also backgrounds where, it's the back and what the screen looks like.
Right, and you can change those backgrounds and all sorts of different modifications to the program as well. And so what was fun as a parent and as a father, it was kind of cool. I sat down with the book next to Kayleigh, just right on the couch, and she had the laptop with her, and so I would read through a direction, and like Kayleigh said, it's step by step. I mean, very simple. And I would say, okay, we need this type of block, and we need this type of function, and she would just find it on the screen, and there are pictures in the book that tell you where it is if you don't see it right away, and she would start creating the code, and it was fun. We spent maybe 45 minutes one night working on the program, and then maybe 20 minutes the next night, and we haven't quite finished the full program, but we're well on our way, and it was just a lot of fun for us to sit down and do that. And in fact, Kayleigh's little sister, who is 6 years old, came in and was like, I want to do that, and so I think that's our next step. And just so for people who are listening, Kayleigh is in 5th grade, and so I think probably she could sit down and do it on her own. But then, of course, I wanted to be involved, so I took the book and read to her. But definitely for a 5th grader, especially with a 5th grader that has a little bit of coding experience and probably from school, probably has some of that as Kayleigh does. So Kayleigh, what's probably your favorite part of this book?
A couple of my favorite parts were that they involved Star Wars characters into the book, and like I said in the beginning, I really liked illustrations and how the Star Wars characters like make you feel like you're in the coding world or
the
Wonderland.
galaxy.
Yeah, the coding galaxy. And I also like how it takes you step by step, and it never leaves a step out.
Yeah. And another thing that I really liked about this book is throughout the author, John Woodcock, very frequently throughout the book, through the introduction and even through steps of the coding in the program that we were working on, encourages the person following and reading the book to take risks. You know, he said he gives you all of the steps and all of the directions, but throughout says, but try this. See what happens if you add this. Or instead of 180 degrees, try 90 degrees and see what happens. And so it's really encouraging experimentation through coding and really giving you that feeling through the text of the book, saying it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. Go for it. Try it. See what you can discover. And that was a really authentic piece of the book. And encouraged us to keep pushing forward, and we did try some different things, like with the direction of the ball, and of course you changed a sprite.
Yeah, I changed the yellow ball.
It's supposed to be an energy ball.
Well, I liked the beach ball better, and I thought I liked the beach ball better because there was like a soccer ball and a baseball and a basketball. And then there's beach ball, and I thought I like the beach ball better.
Yeah, well, aesthetic changes for sure are a lot of fun, but they encourage also the coding changes and to experiment and try with that. So I'm pretty sure, Kayleigh, you would recommend this book to anyone who's interested in computer coding?
Yes.
And especially if they have a love for Star Wars as well?
Yes.
So, well, Kayleigh, thanks for joining me today. It's been fun to talk about this book, and it was fun to go through this book by DK called Star Wars Coding Projects Using Scratch. Back to you, Dan.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are the podcast you're looking for. This is... yes.
Before we get to email, I want to thank our CWK sponsors, Penguin Random House Audio and the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps. Please support them the way they support our podcast, and remember to listen to new and archive shows of Coffee with Kenobi wherever you listen to podcasts, including iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Player FM, our Coffee with Kenobi website, www.coffeewithkenobi.com, or wherever you enjoy listening to your favorite shows. And if you listen to the show through iTunes, please leave us a review. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and Tumblr, and would love for you to check us out there. Be sure to listen to our CWK family of shows too, including Legends Library, Rebels Reactions, Comics with Kenobi, and Lattes with Leia. A big thank you to Sarah Woloski and Jared Cantor for joining us today. Where can listeners get in touch with each of you if they want to ask either of you a question or just say hello?
All right. Well, you can find me. I am on Twitter at Jedi Tink. Once again, you can find a lot of Forces of Destiny character pictures there. And also, I, of course, do Skywalking Through Neverland, a Star Wars Disney podcast with my husband, Richard. And we are always doing meetups. We live in LA. And actually, we're really excited. Next week, we are going to have Jennifer Murrow, the sole writer of Forces of Destiny series, on our show. So we're going to ask her some of the questions we've come up with tonight in our discussion, and very excited to do that. Yeah. And also you can find us, or you can find me on Fangirls Going Rogue, which we are going to release our 50th episode. We're a monthly show. Our 50th episode this week. We're super excited about that. And we just were over the weekend together at Geek Girl Con. And we usually live across the country. So like Teresa lives in Austin, Texas. I live in California, and Trisha Barr lives in Florida. So super fun to be able to actually record that 50th episode together in the same room. It was amazing. So we also have a bunch of fun celebrities on our show as well, including Dave Filoni, which we discussed was our most exciting episode to record with him, where we asked him about #HotCallus.
that's where it all grew into the phenomenon that it is. Well, congratulations on 50 episodes. That's wonderful.
Thank you very much.
You bet. And Jared, where can people reach out to you?
Well, that's a hard act to follow there. I am on the Twitter at Jared Cantor, one word. And since that is my pretty much only online Star Wars presence, if anyone has any interesting thoughts, they can shoot me a tweet. I try to tweet at least a couple times a month so people think I'm still alive. And 99% of the time it's Star Wars, 1% of the time it's probably about being a dad.
Oh, all wonderful things. Well, we will definitely have links to all these things in the show notes, and I want to thank each and every one of you for listening to and supporting Coffee with Kenobi and for contributing to Star Wars Conversation. We will be back next week with 2 new co-hosts and more Star Wars talk. And if you are participating in the CWK Book Study, be sure to read chapters 9 to 15 of Leia, Princess of Alderaan for next week. And stay tuned to our Instagram and Insta story for a big reveal this weekend regarding something new and exciting coming from Coffee with Kenobi. This is a podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along.